What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Brandon Blakney, a.k.a. Brandon Lee TV, joined by my guest host, Mr. Adam Chalifoux, out of North Dakota. Horns up, baby. Welcome to episode 17 of the Dukes of the Gridiron Podcast, powered by the Believe Network. Fargo Fox, how you feeling, baby?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. This is my new greeting. I do the double flap, this and then this. I've been working on that.
Hey, everybody needs a trademark, man.
Yeah,
I love
first
it.
time breaking it out on the pod.
I love it. So welcome him in, man. As you guys know, I have a background in broadcast television, and I was working with Adam before I got here. Back in North Dakota, we used to host a sports show and work in the sports department. He's a big Chicago Bears, Chicago sports fan, insider. He's covered them, he's celebrated them, he's cried with them, he's done it all. Yeah. Adam, it's a great time and a bad time. It's kind of like a seesaw being a Bears fan right now.
Yeah. Just to elaborate a little bit about what you said, I was there Christmas Eve on Hallis Hall during the in Hallis Hall, one of the John Fox years when I was interning at CBS Chicago. From there all the way to when I was in 8th grade and the Bears lost in the Super Bowl, and crying on the car ride home. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's been a lifelong Bears fan, and I'll tell you what, man, it's definitely an exciting time to be a Bears fan. It's not necessarily an easy time to be a Bears fan. It's an exciting time. So there's a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And unfortunately, my squad, the Carolina Panthers and the Bears, are going to be tied together because of a trade for probably at least the next decade. We're going to be hearing about this. You guys hit the ultimate finesse, in my opinion. I thought we gave away too much in the beginning. You guys didn't even want DJ Moore. They wanted Brian Burns. Now we may end up letting him walk for nothing.
And we might get him too.
You guys might get him too. Thanks to Carolina and our wonderful owner, classy owner, David Tepper, who likes to throw drinks on people, you got exactly, man. Like, what is going on? Well, thanks to this guy, you guys now have the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft, along with the 9th pick to add to a core that, is obviously got some young talent, some established players, but now there's a decision to make.
With that first pick, I'll just get out ahead of it right now. I think the Bears should stick with Justin Fields, and I'm going to get into why. DJ Moore wants Justin Fields, and it seems like a big issue with the Chicago Bears, and I think it ties into their struggle with the quarterback position, is historically it's this like cycle of resetting. Mm-hmm. They fire a coach, they fire a GM, they get a new quarterback. 4 years later, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And if you look back to some of the great quarterbacks in history, they didn't all get off to great starts. So right. A great example is John Elway, who really struggled his first few seasons. I mean, even Peyton Manning had the worst rookie season just about ever. He wound up being fine. Fields has shown development, and I get a lot of Bears fans, because I don't represent everybody, but a lot of Bears fans, the ones who are more Caleb Williams, they say, well, he hasn't developed enough. But like, how much are you going to develop with all these different offensive coordinators and all these different coaches? He was brought in by a different regime entirely.
Facts.
But the fact that the offense likes him, like he's the team's guy. Right. Guys on both sides of the ball have been vocal about bring back Justin Fields. And if you're trying to actually build something, and it would be one thing if they were like, all right, we're getting rid of Eberflus, we're nuking this whole thing. But if you're looking to run it back, you're going to run it back with your guys and the guys that the locker room believes in, and that's Justin Fields. Now, that also kind of opens the door, and I'll let you decide if we want to go here yet or later, but it opens the door for what other moves do you need to make to give Justin Fields what he needs to be successful, because those needs haven't necessarily been met, but there's a lot of things you can do in this offseason to put him in position to succeed.
No, absolutely. You guys have two great draft picks. I think 5 or 6 total. And then you got a lot of money to spend as well
Wow.
in free agents.
Yeah.
A lot of money to spend. If you were pitching Justin Fields to that other side of the fan base who may not be feeling like he is developing at an adequate pace right now. And I feel like last year he was running for his life the whole time. This year we saw what a number one receiver in DJ Moore could mean with his development now and going into the future. What have you seen that makes you feel comfortable in trusting the franchise with Justin Fields?
Well, it's tough because like a lot of times he's running for his life, and that's a problem. But down the stretch of that season, he really cut down on the turnovers. He had that game against the Browns, which he did just as much to win as he did to lose that game, unfortunately. And the Bears defense was substantial, but he had 2 picks in that one. He had a pick against the Cardinals, 268 yards, no picks against the Falcons. And then that Packer game, no touchdowns, no picks either. But he's just gotten better at like actually taking care of the football. First year, 7 touchdowns, 10 receptions. And then his second year, it's 17 touchdowns, 11 picks. And then this, in what was a pretty short season for him, 16 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, and the QBR is going up every
So we're
year.
seeing the progression.
It's 85. It's 86. Yeah, so he's getting better, and he's also pretty young. He's still very young in the grand scheme of things. And it's it matters who he is right now, but if you actually develop the guy, what's he going to be like when he's 29, 30 years old? I mean, I know it's a weird comparison to make because they're very different football players, but look at Baker Mayfield right now.
He's balling.
This is a guy who everyone was ready to give up on. And the quarterback position is the hardest position in professional sports. And it's the hardest place to play quarterback is Chicago because of their history for disaster at that position. And so the pressure's super high. Fields has handled the media well. Like I said, he's consistently gotten better. And then I think the biggest point I would try to drive home to anyone who's debating me as a Bears fan to go with Caleb Williams, I'm just going to pull the continuity card. How many times are we going to hit the reset button? Because we just did it with Trubisky.
Right.
And you know what? Bryce Young's supposed to be this generational talent, right? Caleb Williams supposed to be this generational talent. You know who else was supposed to be the generational talent? Justin Fields.
Yeah, at one point, yeah.
And so maybe he still is that generational talent, but if you bring in a new quarterback and you're trying to make the playoffs next year, good luck doing that with a rookie quarterback who's got to build brand new from scratch with all his rapport versus having Justin Fields, who on the roster right now is pretty damn good with Cole Kmet and DJ Moore, who are going to be the top targets, I believe, going forward. There's somebody I want them to get in the draft as well, who could certainly help in that capacity. But it just makes more sense to bring the guy back who's already has the endorsement from your star wide receiver. And then off that, how much are you going to turn off your team who's starting to believe in each other,
right,
and actually had a solid finish down the stretch? How much are you going to turn off your team from believing in what you're building when you're like, Justin's gone? They want him, so you got to bring him back. You got to bring him back. You got to give this team an actual chance to succeed.
Right.
And I get the desperation for success because it's been a bleak few years.
Yeah.
The Bears haven't been in the playoffs since, that game against the Saints a few years ago. And we all remember the double doink. And, this is a fan base that is starving for legitimate success.
Absolutely.
Since Lovie Smith left. But sometimes they're not patient enough. And that's why I'm calling out the fans straight up. Sometimes they're not patient enough because Rome wasn't built in a day. And so let this guy actually get good and give him what he needs to succeed. Because right now, Tim Patrick isn't cutting it. Having this offensive line, they got some good young pieces, but any quarterback I went back and looked at some Caleb Williams tape, and especially against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
That guy's making some horrible throws. That game against Baylor, he's making some horrible throws. What was the common denominator when I look at the Caleb Williams making horrible throws tape, and I look at the Justin Fields making horrible throws tape?
O-line.
It's the O-line.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to go Fields.
No, absolutely, man. I love Fields' game. I think no matter where he goes, if he goes there, my second destination, if he can't stay in Chicago, I'd love to see him go to Atlanta, somewhere where he could, flourish and develop. But I agree. He's handled the media well. He's heard the Caleb Williams talk, and he's been just classy about it all, making it known that he wants to be there in Chicago. He's talented. I think it's arguably like it's there. If you're watching him and really looking at his development, it's steady development, steady growth. He's progressing. The two names you keep hearing in the draft, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. I think for me, it's a weird situation because it's something like that you mentioned. The guys, the locker room, the camaraderie is around Justin Fields. He's their guy. He's their leader. He's the guy that they've been building with, that they've been in the trenches with the last 3 years. And then you got this potential generation talent in Caleb Williams, who the fans are looking at and saying, he's the best draft prospect since Andrew Luck. He's going to be better than Patrick Mahomes. They're reading the same headlines and stuff that we're reading. So the excitement is there. It's the unknown. It's there. They want to see what Caleb Williams could be. And if they pass on him, they could regret it for the next 10 years. But my thing about that is Justin Fields wants to be in Chicago. The team wants him to be in Chicago.
Right.
Caleb Williams, the fans. Caleb Williams has made it known, him and his father, that he has no desire to be in Chicago, and ultimately waited until he got some assurances that Chicago would trade that first pick before he even declared for the NFL draft. So
yeah, I'm seeing some of that noise too. And I know that Caleb Williams, just to play devil's advocate here, I know that he's been the victim of some, let's call it shoddy journalism here and there.
Yeah,
people have misquoted him. People have misrepresented him. And some of these, like, no matter what kind of media you're navigating, not get all philosophical, but whether it's sports or anything, like, you got to kind of ask yourself, like, what's the source? How reliable is this?
Right.
But yeah, I've certainly seen the noise. I don't know how legit it is, but it doesn't seem like Caleb Williams even wants to be here. And that's a huge factor. He's a Packer fan.
Right.
Like,
so
what you doing?
If you're looking at that from like a locker room perspective, you're a rookie quarterback. Not only and we don't know for a fact if it's true or not, but that's what's out there, like you said.
That's what's out there.
So we're talking about it, folks.
Yeah.
And you're looking at that situation. You got this team that feels like they're a couple pieces away from being a legitimate playoff team. Then you restart. You got a kid who has to come in there, earn the respect, but also is coming in with an aura around him that, hey, he didn't even want to be here and be a part of this franchise.
Right. And you know what's crazy is DJ Moore grew up with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been seeing the comments that he's been leaving on Instagram and stuff.
In Fields and Moore, in Marvin Harrison Jr., they're all commenting on each other's things. Seems like they're all friends.
Yeah, like there might be some chemistry there already.
And if you have chemistry like already coming in, I honestly feel like this draft in some ways is being served on a silver platter for the Chicago Bears, and it's just a matter of, are you going to play with your food or are you going to eat it?
Right.
Because the guy to take isn't Caleb Williams, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. But here's where things get real interesting. You start to think about the gamesmanship and the chess game that is being played by different executives around the NFL. And the Bears just interviewed Cliff Kingsbury. Mm-hmm. So execs are going to be like, well, shoot, does that mean they're going to take Justin Fields? Are they going to stick with Fields? Maybe they'll go Williams.
Yeah.
But it's a little smoke and mirrors. It doesn't mean if they hire Kingsbury that they're going to, go get Caleb Williams, but it's going to raise some eyebrows.
Right.
Like the Bears, their best interest as far as their front office goes is to make the Cardinals and the Patriots think that they are going to take Caleb Williams, because otherwise you drive down that valley. But if you trade down to 2 or 3, and you are able to get Marvin Harrison and a haul, then you can set up Justin Fields and that defense, which is also very underrated right now.
I think they came along like later in the season. Absolutely.
They really did. They're like finished like second half of the season where they're legitimately one of the best defenses in the NFL. But the Bears, they could get a haul for that. But there's also an avenue where you just take your guy. You just don't play with your food. You just take your guy. But if you have the opportunity, like if I was the GM, and I'm not, but if I was the GM and I had an opportunity to trade down to 2, I would. I wouldn't trade down to 3.
Right, because Harrison's not falling past 2.
If he goes to 3, that's great, but I am not risking that. Like if Caleb Williams is the top 1 and the Patriots or the Cardinals like want to go get him, that's great. But like not at the risk of you have to know you can get Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right. Yeah. No, it feels like, man, just seeing that chemistry, it reminds you of college. Like I feel like Marvin Harrison Jr., like the Bears just need to bring him in on an official visit, show him the facilities, get him committed, get him signed up, man. But you mentioned like the trading aspect, and that's something that I think people aren't really talking about is the Bears could move down and add even more draft capital for this draft or the future. You still have the 9th pick. If they do get Caleb Williams, you also still have the draft capital of what Justin Fields could potentially bring.
Yeah, which is a good situation either way. And like, just to be clear, I'll root for either guy. Mm-hmm. You know, like I'd be floored, shocked if it wasn't one of those 2. Yeah, I do think it's going to be Justin Fields, but whoever the Bears have back there, I will cheer for them and I will hope that they do well, you know.
As far as that 9th pick, like it doesn't have to be any player in particular, but like what do you want to see the Bears address? I mean, I know we know that offensive line needs some work and they've got the 9th pick and they also we have to mention a lot of money to throw around.
Yeah, and I feel like first you have to get through free agency. And so let me just say a couple of guys I'd like to see them target there first.
Yeah.
It's like, so to answer your question, the answer is a center, a guard, or an edge rusher, specifically from the right side. Somebody to put on the other side of Montez Sweat. But let's say that the Chicago Bears are able to get Connor Williams from Miami at center.
Yeah.
27 years old. You got the money to get him, and you can put him as a fixture for the next 5 years to secure up that offensive line. Well, then you got center addressed, right? So if you can get our Wilkins from the Dolphins, who you could run.
Oh, yeah, Christian, I like him. He's a monster.
You could put him inside or outside. I think that could be a very nice get. But, you know, I'm just looking at like position by position, like if the Bears choose to cut ways with Eddie Jackson, Antoine Winfield would be amazing.
Yeah. Another young player too.
Exactly. Bryce Huff from the Jets would be a great guy, but you know, so like, cause obviously free agency coming first, like, you want to see how they fill that up. A lot of good options out there for them, whether it be the inside of the offensive line, edge rusher, and then third most needed would be receiver, just because I do think that there's some things they can do in the draft. Like I think that they could do right by grabbing obviously Marvin Harrison, who I mentioned, but also maybe you grab Brendan Rice in the later round.
Is there a spot for Darnell Mooney still in this rotation?
I don't know, man. I mean, like, he was just so disappointing. I'm ready to cut ties. But yeah, man, looking at that 9 spot, I think like even if they get an offensive line who they have to move, you know, like me and you cover North Dakota State, and Cody Mauch is a perfect example. Like
starting in the playoffs right now.
He played left tackle, but they moved him to guard. So like, I'm okay with like, you know, it's up to these scouts to see who the best guy is going to be for like the actual versatility of making a potential switch there. But Joe Alt out of Notre Dame, currently a tackle. My goodness, would he be just tremendous. I think that dude's a generational talent that would be able to slide right in. And so that's definitely somebody I would consider. Dallas Turner would be amazing.
Oh yeah, the kid out of Alabama. I think he's very underrated. I love Dallas Turner, just physical, powerful, speed. Yeah.
Exactly. Olu Fashanu, you tackle it at Penn State, like, maybe you shuffle somebody else around there. Lautu, I don't know if I'm saying that name right, but the defensive end out of UCLA,
Yeah.
big, strong, physical pass rusher. And so you got to like take care of that edge rush on the other side, and you got to shore up the line. The number one priority is the line. And I'm not seeing a ton of guys like in mock drafts that are right up near the top as far as like offensive guards ready to go. And being that, like, considering where the Bears are, big picture right now, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable like trying to get a center and a guard through free agency that's already proven, because you already have a lot of young pieces on that line, and good young pieces too. Because just right now, they got Darnell Wright, and that he was their first pick in last year's draft.
Okay.
And so like they've already kind of added some key young pieces, and I'm pulling up that depth chart right now here. So right now, Braxton Jones, solid young guy. Stick with him. Tevin Jenkins is going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. That dude is an absolute bear. He's a mauler.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Like Nate Davis, he's honestly like Nate Davis is where I draw the line, because like he's solid. Mm-hmm. He's solid. He's a veteran. I think he's like 27 years old or whatever.
Okay.
Like if he's in the starting offensive line next year, like I'm okay with that. But like you address those first, and then you try to get those edge rushers. And then like if you have by the end of the first round of the NFL draft, like free agency in the first round, if I'm a Bears fan and I see that they just got Marvin Harrison Jr. and a decent edge rusher, let's say Dallas Turner, I'm thrilled. And I feel like we're ready to make some noise in the NFC North just at that point. But then you really got to start to get into the nitty gritty. Eddie Jackson isn't worth the money he's making right now. That's a 18 mil cap hit. Ooh. And that's for a player who's still solid, but he's like 11 mil solid.
Yeah, he's kind of getting on that opposite, the bad end of 30 now. It's like
yeah, exactly. And so you start looking at that, and you start looking at another guy, similar situation, in Cody Whitehair on the offensive line, who's played a little bit, it seems like everything. He's played some center, he's played some guard, but he's, I want to say, on the books for like 13. And so you get rid of your bad money, and then it also kind of gets you in a situation. And, on my new YouTube's FoodTube, I just talked with my friend Gabriel and Josh, and an idea I threw around out there is, what if you trade that pick? What if you trade that 9th pick, and then you take a big swing for like Max Crosby or Saquon Barkley, because and that's where you have to get rid of your bad money.
Yeah.
But if you add a guy like Saquon Barkley or another dude who's going to be like not so likely, I think Saquon would be more likely than this guy I'm going to mention, but like a Derrick Henry.
I'm so glad you said that, because I mentioned that on my show earlier when I did the top 12 rankings for the running backs. I had Derrick Henry at 12, and some of the guys on IDP were asking me about, why I put him there in the situation. We don't know where he's going to end up, but one of my ideal destinations was the Chicago Bears for Derrick Henry. Completely would elevate that run game, and he's still got a lot of juice in the tank, I feel like, and y'all have the money.
And he would make Justin Fields more dangerous, because it's kind of like adding a great changeup for a guy who's already got a bunch of fastballs. That guy metaphorically being the Bears offense, right? Like we know that the Mike Vick, Justin Fields comps are out there, and they have all this speed on the outside, but you can kind of look at some of the blueprints and things that have worked with a Lamar Jackson, and like he's got his Mark Andrews in Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet's a great, great tight end. I think one of the most underrated tight ends in the NFL.
Absolutely.
He's got a better wide receiver than Lamar Jackson has ever had in DJ Moore. And you can continue to build around that speed, but then it just makes it hard for the defense to cheat. Because if you stack the box on Derrick Henry, and that's why I just love the fit for Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
The timeline is questionable, but the fit itself, if you have to stack the box on a Derrick Henry, how dangerous does that make DJ Moore?
I mean, he's going to give y'all 1,000 yards. He's going to give y'all 1,000 yards if he goes there.
He's 1,000 yards like clockwork. He was a top 5 rusher again this year. I remember talking to guys ahead of fantasy football draft, and everybody was saying, take the Bijan Robinson. I'm taking Derrick Henry because I know he's going to get me 1,000 yards. And I know how good Bijan is supposed to be, but I'm going with the proven commodity
right now. And he led the league in carries this year at 29, 30 years old.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I love that fit. Another name that you kind of mentioned who also will probably raise some eyebrows if they end up getting Caleb Williams is Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry Rice, who really shined at USC this year, man. I love Dallas Turner. I think Jared Verse, the kid out of Florida State, would be a solid fit with the Bears as well. But yeah, I think you guys have so much opportunity right now. It's just the team is gonna look totally different in the next 3 to 4 months, 5, 6 months.
Well, let me ask you a question here, because I know that being a Panthers fan, you've seen this guy more than me, but someone at the top of my wish list as far as under radar pickups go is I would really like the Bears to target Laviska Shenault.
Yeah.
I think that if you put him in place, because I covered him during my time at Colorado, so I'm just very familiar with his game. Mm-hmm. I'm more familiar with that than I am with his NFL game. He's bounced around a bit. He's had some health issues. Yeah. But if you have a big physical runner, and I know they even used him at the running back position here and there for the Panthers, if you have a big physical runner and you have that guy in the slot, I think that creates a lot of problems for the defense. So I'd love the Bears to go after Shenault.
Yeah, I mean, Shenault is a guy that shows it in flashes. He's never going to be the number 1 option, but as like a number 3 or 4, just he's physically gifted. He's got things that are God-given that you can't coach. You know, like you said, he's big, he's physical, big hands. He's been in the league around a few teams. Had some years with the Jags. I think honestly, a big body like that alongside DJ Moore, who's a specimen himself. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., man. That'd be a tough 3 wide receiver lineup. And I love Kmet, man. Like you said, he's old reliable, but he's not old. He just brings his lunch pail, his hard hat every game, and he works. Doesn't say too much. He's just reliable, man. He's that safety blanket so far for Fields. You guys got him on a hell of a deal right now. He's 25 years old. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, and he's just so strong. He's one of the strongest guys I've ever seen, like catching the football under duress. So yeah, man. I mean, we'll see what happens. I do think that they're going to stick with Fields, and then all bets are off, just because they got the money to play with, man.
Yeah.
But this is the best opportunity the Bears have had, and that's tip of the hat to the front office. It's the best opportunity the Bears have had in my lifetime to set up long-term success.
Yeah. This could be the start of a dynasty. Like, all you have to do is not fumble here, and you're set for potentially the next 10 to 15 years. Before last topic I wanted to ask you about, because I know you're a big Jim Harbaugh guy. In a perfect world, if the opportunity was available, would you want him leading the Bears?
I've wanted Jim Harbaugh since he was at Stanford.
Wow.
I wanted Jim Harbaugh the whole time he was with the 49ers. I wanted Jim Harbaugh the whole time he was at Michigan. Mm-hmm. Harbaugh obviously was the quarterback for the Bears, and he's one of the greatest football coaches in the world, probably in the top 5 in the world at any level. And it frustrates me that the Bears don't seem to be going that direction. They're going back with Eberflus. Now, I understand that because Eberflus they finished that season really, really strong. And Eberflus, his seat was so hot going into that Washington Commanders Thursday night game. The ghost of Dick Butkus had to inspire the Bears, and that was a highlight of the season for me, that game. But that was the game. That was the let's save coach's ass game.
Yeah.
And the rest of the season, he had to continue. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he had to keep saving his ass, and he eventually did get his ass saved. And the team helped with that too. But so I understand that, and it goes back to the continuity piece.
Right.
So I wouldn't want the Bears to just fire a coach to fire a coach, but if they were to get Harbaugh, I'd be all for it. And yeah, I'm a little disappointed that they didn't interview him, but I also understand why they didn't. I think he's going to wind up in San Diego. I know they interviewed him.
Yeah.
And I know that he used to play quarterback for the Chargers too. And I know that San Diego is a hell of a lot nicer in the winter than Michigan.
Right about that. And Justin Herbert doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and the NFL is not going to be up his butt like on these ridiculous accusations and the ridiculous, like, everyone with a smartphone has taped some damn plays into like the BS Harbaugh's had to deal with in the Big Ten.
It's tough, man. It feels like he's kind of getting not forced out, but it's giving him reason to consider leaving strongly.
Well, let me tell you this though, because I was talking to my friend, and I just didn't put two and two together. So my friend Russ was talking to me about the Harbaugh to the Bears thing, and he pointed out that Kevin Warren used to be the head of the Big Ten, and he's currently the Bears president.
Okay.
And so maybe my friend, he said it would be like sleeping with your ex. You know? So maybe he just wants his own guys. He does, and he thinks Harbaugh's a headache, which he has been. Harbaugh's a big personality.
Yeah, very vocal, very strongly opinionated.
Yeah, and you look at what's worked with the Bears, it's these big personalities. But like after Ditka, who's about as big as you get as far as personality goes, they've gone all nice guys.
Mm-hmm.
Wannstedt and Dick Duran and Lovie Smith, and like some of them are good coaches. Like Lovie is one of the most beloved coaches in Chicago history.
Super Bowl champion as well with the Bucs.
Yeah, not with the Bears, but he got him there.
With Rex Ryan at that, or Rex Grossman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they had the defensive coordinator is actually a guy I want them to bring back, and I don't think they will. But Ron Rivera, get him back in the building.
He's looking for a job.
Yeah, and like he was the defensive coordinator with Lovie when they made their last Super Bowl run.
Mm-hmm. Just hard-nosed, all business, knock your head off.
Member of the 85 Bears linebacking core too. Mm-hmm. So, you can do the right things right now. Like I'm excited to see what the Bears do. I'm optimistic. This is the most trust I've had in a GM in Ryan Pace, or I'm sorry, not Ryan Pace. Pace gone. Mm-hmm. Poles in a long time. And that's just because they're doing it the right way. They're building it through the line. Like Gervon Dexter is the future at defensive tackle. They got better with the Montez Sweat. Mm-hmm. They got those big maulers on the offensive line. And then, so take care of the line. The rest is going to kind of take care of itself. And then you just got to find the right kind of pieces. And this is a draft that is going to allow you to get the kind of pieces you need to set yourself up to success.
Absolutely. Well said, my guy. And that's a wrap for us. Adam, let them know where to find you at for all the updates and latest so they can follow your journey, bro.
Yeah. Thank you, Brandon, for having me on too. As we discussed, I recently started my own YouTube. And so that's FOUX Tube, FooTube, my last name being Chalifoux, so FooTube. And I'm guessing unless you're just some random huge FCS fan, you could follow my stuff on KVRR local news, but I'm thinking your fan base is more interested in what I have to say about the NFL than the Chicago Bulls. And so I'll just say, follow me on FooTube. Give me a like, give me a follow, tell a friend to tell a friend. Yes, all goes a long way, as you know. And I appreciate your support, and I appreciate your support, whoever you are that maybe just looked up FoodTube and hit the like button and subscribe. I appreciate you.
Hey, absolutely. Building it brick by brick, baby. That's how you got to do it. Make sure to give my guy a follow, guys. You don't want to miss out. And we'll definitely have Adam back on to talk more Bears as we get closer to the draft and some Chicago Bulls, because that's going to be a whole nother conversation, man. Happy to see my guy Kobe White getting it in finally. Well, that's a wrap for us. For all the latest and the greatest, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. This has been Dukes of the Gridiron Podcast. Until next time, hey, we out.